This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for August 15th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a feel-good Friday edition of the podcast. As always, we got a huge show for you today. So let's get right into it and start with the Phils. And yikes, another forgettable game for the Phils. Obviously, this one, not making excuses, but the team had some plane issues, did not even get into DC until 2 p.m. yesterday. So I'm sure a lot of routines and things like that were thrown off. And it showed offensively. But I saw a lot of people questioning Rob Thompson as well as Jesus Luzardo. And I can't put the blame on either one of them. More on Topper here in a minute. But as far as leaving Luzardo out there, in hindsight, yeah, we probably should have taken him out to start the seventh, but he was dealing. He was pitching well, got into a little bit of trouble in the seventh, and obviously a 3-2 loss. However, where's the offense? You scored 2 runs. I get that you were late coming in, but this is the Nationals, one of the worst teams in the league, and you only scored 2 runs. They were getting hits, but no real extra base hits or hard hits. So just a wasted opportunity. Luckily, the Mets are still Metting, and they lose. So the lead in the NL East is still 5. So another one of those no harm, no fouls. They've lost 3 in a row. Don't want to lose 4 in a row here. So hopefully they come out. Zach Wheeler is on the mound. And I guess the other issue that everybody had with Topper, and I can see both sides of this, but bunting with Edmundo Sosa in the 9th, I don't know. I mean, you had Kepler on first, no outs. I like the idea, and Sosa almost beat it out, but maybe you let Sosa hit there, but then you run the risk of hitting into a double play. I think when it got to 3-0, I might have been taken. That dude seemed a little wild. I might have taken until you got 2 strikes and then let him swing away. But it's one of those things. People are going to be on Topper for that. If you want to get on him for bunting there, I think in the big grand scheme of things, I don't know if that really mattered. And for everybody saying, oh, you should have kept Luzardo or taken Luzardo out, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where if he leaves him in and he does well, nobody says anything. Or the opposite, if he takes him out and then Kerkering has a bad inning, all of a sudden, why did you take him out? So I feel like I'm not going to get on him for that. Like, there's a lot of decisions he's made throughout this year. Sure, we can get on him for. I'm just going to lay back on this one, set this one out because you throw in the travel delays. So we'll see what happens today. But hopefully, now that they're well rested, they should be able to come out and at least score more runs, get some hits against one of the worst teams in the league. So we'll see. Yesterday's question of the day, I asked you, they were talking about a possibility of a 6-man rotation. 100%. You don't get those too often. 100% of you agree with the idea of a 6-man rotation. And I read in the Inquirer this morning that it does look like they're at least going to do a 6-man rotation one time through. It was confirmed that Aaron Nola is going to start Sunday's game. So you have Wheeler, Wheeler, Taiwan, and then Aaron Nola. And I think I actually said that wrong. I think I said Taiwan today, Zach tomorrow, yesterday. But it is Zach Wheeler tonight, then Taiwan, and then Aaron Nola. So they're at least going to go one time through with a 6-man rotation and then see how it goes from there. There's some other ideas that are on the table is using 2 starters in the same game. So like having one guy go 4 innings, another guy go 4 innings. That's something I kind of brought up back in the beginning of the year when we were talking about Andrew Painter. I don't mind that one. And then there's also skip a start for one of the starters for a few days. Uh, Not a bad idea either. But I think at least with kind of pairing them up, you're at least getting some work in and everything. So, as we said at the beginning of the year, this is a good problem to have. So we'll see how it goes. But they are going to employ the 6-man rotation at least one time through, I guess, starting today. And then it'll go through, and then Sanchez and Luzardo will pitch Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, I think it is. So, and they have a brutal schedule as far as days and not having days off. They only have one day off in the next couple of weeks. So I think it makes sense to do this, and however they decide to do it, I think is going to be helpful. And then later this weekend, you have the possibility of Jose Alvarado coming back, so that should help out the bullpen as well. So the Phillies, I think, from a pitching standpoint, are in a good shape, and that is barring Nola coming out and being Nola from earlier in the year. But they're back at it tonight. Zach Wheeler on the mound. Let's get a win, and hopefully the Mets lose again so we can increase that lead. Like, we're not taking advantage fully of the Mets being in full Met mode. This should be a 10-game lead by now. This division should be over, and Phillies are screwing around and going to leave the Mets in there. And someday, somehow, the Mets are not going to Met, and then we're going to be in trouble. So let's just put them away, end it now, and move on. All right, moving on to the Eagles. Another rough day at joint practice with the Browns, both offensively and defensively yesterday. A lot of starters on offense didn't play, but the consensus from everybody, and I think I mentioned this before, like, I don't look at one specific person. Like, I check out Ellie Shore Parks, Jeff McClain, Jimmy Kempsky, a lot of those guys who are at camp and see, and a lot of times they're split on what they're seeing, so it makes it difficult. But the general consensus was for both of these open practices that the Eagles just got their asses kicked. And I don't know. I mean, does it mean anything? In reality, no. But you would like to see them be a little bit more crisp, especially against a team like the Browns. But as our pal AI said, we're talking about practice. And who knows what they're specifically working on. You have players, I heard Hugh Douglas say this yesterday, that Trey Thomas just used to screw around sometimes in practice just to mess with people. So you don't know how, especially these veterans, the Eagles have a team that they've been there, so they know what it takes to get to the Super Bowl. So maybe they're working on specific things, like a pitcher in spring training for baseball. But like I said, it is a little concerning that everybody is just talking about how bad the past 2 days were. Will they use it as motivation? Hopefully. But kind of take it with a grain of salt, because we're talking about practice, man. Practice, not the game, but practice. Speaking of practice, Landon Dickerson was out wearing a sleeve on his knee, having a couple beers with the offensive lineman. I don't know why. I just think it's a pretty cool moment. I know some people are like, why are you not rehabbing? Why are you out there drinking a beer? And it's like, relax. There's a time and a place. They were out in the sun. Having a Miller Lite when it's 90 degrees and humid out is not going to kill anybody's rehab. But thought it was cool. But at the end of the day, we're not going to know anything until Thursday night, September 4th, when the Cowboys come in. And it's looking more and more like the NFL did us a favor by putting the Cowboys there. Just saying. All right, rest in peace to the Wells Fargo Center. The Wells Fargo Center is no more. Yesterday, it was officially renamed and rebranded the Xfinity Mobile Arena. Will this give the teams a boost? Who knows? Sixers schedule came out yesterday, and I'll be honest, I watched the video. It was pretty cool because it's the 25th anniversary of that 2000-2001 team. So they were interweaving some of the highlights from that year in with some of last year's team. But I don't know. I'm not going to look at and go through it like if you were a Sixers beat writer, absolutely. You see, apparently Keith Pompey did that, and there's a couple stretches around Christmas and then right after the New Year where a couple back to backs and things like that, tough games against playoff teams. But I don't think any of the Sixers schedule matters. It all comes down to Joe and Paul George's health. So we'll see how that goes. But the Xfinity Mobile Arena is up and running. For my money, First Union was still my favorite. The good old FU Center. I still call it the FU Center, by the way. Probably by the time they tear it down is when Xfinity Mobile will probably catch on with me, and it'll be something else then. Little League World Series update. Tough one yesterday for the Glenmore Eagles. They lost 2-0 to the South Dakota team. The South Dakota pitcher was dealing. Pitched a complete game, one hitter, struck out like 13 or 11. And to their credit, defensively, the Glenmore team played very, very well. Their pitchers were solid too, just gave up a couple runs early in the first inning. But this was a very, very well-played Little League game. And like I said, tough one. And even the announcers kept saying, like, if they could get this dude's pitch count up, but he was just right around what you want from any pitcher, but especially at that level. He was right around the plate. He was throwing heat, and the Glenmore team just couldn't do anything with him. They are off today. They will play tomorrow against the Great Lakes team from Illinois, 7 p.m. tomorrow night on ESPN. But it's a double elimination tournament, so now their backs are against the wall. But I have confidence that this team is going to come out because I don't think they played poorly yesterday at all. It was just that South Dakota pitcher was lights out. And luckily I was watching that and missing the debacle that was the Phillies game. All right, yesterday's trivia question. Since 2000, I asked you who had the most stolen bases in a single season for the Phillies, and that would be Ben Revere with 49 in 2014. Lots of people guessing J-Roll, lots of people guessing Victorino. There was a few people that guessed Bobby Abreu, but it was Ben Revere with 49 in 2014. Packing up the whole crew for a week down the shore? Don't waste your first day dragging bags and beach chairs. Let Beach Caddy do the work. With bellhop service for move-ins and move-outs, plus beach cart rentals in Ocean City, Avalon, Sea Isle, Stone Harbor, and Wildwood, they've got your back from driveway to dune. Stress less, relax more. Book now at beachcaddy.app. Use the promo code Jimbo for 10% off your bellhop or cart rental services. Beach Caddy, because vacation should start when you get there. Best beach carts on the Jersey Shore. Book now at beachcaddy.app. Use the promo code Jimbo for 10% off your order and let Beach Caddy take the stress out of your vacation. Don't forget that Beach Caddy promo is 15% through the end of the summer. There is still 2-3 weeks left in summer before school starts. You can still get down to the Jersey Shore, and make sure you hit up Beach Caddy and use that promo code 15% for your beach cart rentals. All right, let's continue with our top 5 list for the first 25 of the century. And today, we're going to look at the top Sixers moments. And this one was tough. Obviously, you guys all know and make it no secret how I feel about the Sixers. They suck me in every time. But it was tough because there was a lot of heartbreaking ones. And even to find honorable mentions, there was a lot of big moments that just didn't go our way, like Kawhi's shot. I mean, you could throw the whole process in there on both sides, Ben Simmons' workouts. But I think some of the best honorable mention moments, obviously, was drafting Embiid. Took a chance, and it didn't work out the way we wanted it to, but I do think it was a very positive and good move drafting Embiid in that draft. Obviously, the first playoff run for the process team with JJ Redick, like those first couple of years, those teams were a lot of fun to watch. It wasn't until they just kept maxing out in the second round that we started to grow tired of it. But I think a lot of us forget how fun those early playoff runs were. And really, things kind of went south after COVID, after they got rid of Jimmy Butler. But, I mean, you had the Atlanta Hawks playoff series, which we talked about earlier, which was one of the worst moments. But I mean, who could forget? This one isn't a specific moment, but every time you needed it, AI with the Hulk Hogan ear cup was always good moments. Hip hop, uh, jumping around, doing things. Joe winning the MVP was a big moment. And then, like I said, there's not any, and I guess that's more of an indictment on this team since 2000, that all of the big moments that we remember, for the most part, are from that 2000, 2001 team. And they're right at the cusp of what we're doing here for this list. But no, there's not a ton of moments. I mean, maybe Joe's DX chop and things like that, but it's just, I feel like the entire Joel Embiid era kind of just runs into one kind of meh. You could throw Maxi's shot against Boston, Harden's game against Boston in the playoffs. But I did compile a list, and here are the top 5 Sixers moments since 2000. Coming in at number 5, the upset of the Bulls in the first round in 2012, specifically Game 6. And I think, obviously, we were fortunate or were able to benefit from Derrick Rose tearing his ACL, and then Noah also being hurt, Joakim Noah. But that last game, or Game 6, where they closed it out at home, was a lot of fun. Andre Iguodala hit the 2 foul shots with 2 seconds left to get it. And there was genuine excitement because they did win, or almost won, the next round. They took Boston to 7 games. So that is the number 5 moment on the list. Number 4, Joel Embiid's 70-point game in 2024. Lost in that is also, he set a career high in rebounds with 18, but the 70 points was a Sixers record. A lot of people will say, oh, well, Wilt scored 100. Wilt scored 100 while playing for the Philadelphia Warriors. So Joe setting the Sixers single game record. Number 3, AI winning the MVP in 2001. Just a special moment because that was one of those teams that we all followed. And I think, to me, and even going back to the process, if this Sixers team can go on runs, the city loves the Sixers. It's just they need to give them a reason to love them. So AI winning the MVP is the number 3 moment on the list. Number 2, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Just after the brutal game and back and forth with the Bucks, the Sixers were able to kind of coast to an easy win to go to the NBA Finals that year in 2001. And then number 1, Game 1 of the 2001 Finals, the Tyronn Lue step over in overtime. Just the way that AI single-handedly put the Sixers on his back to win that game. That is the top moment in Sixers history since 2000. You could also throw in the series against Toronto, Game 7, when we all held our collective breath when Vince Carter's shot went out. But that is the top 5 list. You got number 1, Game 1 of the 2001 Finals. Number 2 is Game 2 of the 2001 Eastern Conference Finals. Number 3, AI winning MVP. Number 4 is Joe's 70-point game. And number 5 is Game 6 of the 2012 first round. Andre Iguodala hitting the 2 foul shots with 2 lefts. Who's too high? Who's too low? Who did I miss? I certainly could have missed one. Just like I said, it was very difficult to find individual moments specifically after that 2001 season because I think they kind of all just morphed together. But let me know. Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Get that, anything else Philly sports related, off of your chest.
It's time for Fridays with AI, where we ask AI to rewrite Philly sports history. Every Friday, only on This Day in Philly Sports History.
Speaking of AI, that's right. It is time for Fridays with AI, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. Make sure you scroll through the site because I feel like there's shirts that just get added or we may have missed. Obviously, you got the Cruck around to find out. Help Devin and support Chop. If you don't want to be booed, don't suck. All kinds of great shirts on Philly Goat. So go there and use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, so we've been looking back through the month. We're about halfway through of the top moments for the past 25 years. And it got me thinking a little bit. What will the next 25 years look like? So, having a little bit more fun with AI today, and starting from 2025, going all the way to 2050, I asked AI, what are your predictions for the next 25 years in Philly sports? And I'll be honest, I'll tell you right now, 2025, 26, that season coming up, you got the Phillies, Eagles, Sixers, Flyers. Not the best. Not the best season for our Philly teams. However, the future is bright. AI is predicting big things for Philadelphia sports. So let's get into the predictions. For the Eagles, they take a step back this year. We've been talking about camp and things like that. However, next year, Jalen Hurts bounces back, leads the Eagles to Super Bowl 61, and kind of cements himself as one of the elite quarterbacks. And then fast forward to 2032, the new franchise quarterback, whoever takes over for Jalen Hurts, leads the Eagles to Super Bowl 67. So 2 in the next 10 years for the Eagles. And really, they kind of cement themselves with the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Green Bay Packers, the 49ers, teams that won through multiple different quarterbacks or multiple eras with different quarterbacks. So Super Bowl 61, Super Bowl 67, the Eagles will win. All right, let's go to the Sixers. How did the Sixers look? Well, Joe and Paul George just kind of ride off into the sunset. You kind of expect, and we all see what's going to happen. We're going to get our hopes up and be let down. However, once they're kind of out of the picture, it becomes Tyrese Maxey teaming up with that young core of Edgecombe and McCain. They're able to make a big splash in the 2028 offseason, signing Zion Williamson as a free agent. So adding him to the core with Edgecombe, McCain, and Maxey, they're able to parlay that into an NBA championship in 28-29. They kind of keep getting to the cusp. They do eventually, with Maxey, make it out of the second round, but they're still missing that piece. And Zion Williamson, the Pelicans let him go, and the Sixers swoop in and sign him. And that parade, according to AI, is probably going to be up there with the 2008 Phillies parade. And what does that mean for Joel Embiid? Well, his legacy is that despite the disappointments, he made people care about the Sixers again. Kind of like and he becomes the new Allen Iverson, kind of that ambassador to the team, always around, just giving back and things like that. All right, move to the Phillies here. They don't win it this year. AI says they do not win it in 2025. However, this offseason, Kyle Schwarber does re-sign, and they ride pretty much the same lineup, but use the strong starting pitching. Justin Crawford becomes the difference maker. They're able to kind of free up some free up some salary space. Justin Crawford's your everyday starting center fielder, and he wins Rookie of the Year. Phillies win the World Series in 2026. John Middleton is willing to spend. He wants his effing trophy back, and he gets it. And despite the fact that the core of this team, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and Bryce Harper, are getting older, he's trying to spend and build around some of these young stars. But Justin Crawford, AI is predicting, is going to be a star. Phillies will win the World Series in 2026. I don't know if my heart can handle that. What about the Flyers? Mishkov leads the Flyers and then it becomes a star. And then once they call up Carson Bjornsson as goalie, they kind of gel together and become a great team. Takes them to the 2023 or 2032 Stanley Cup Finals. Wasn't sure if they would be the champions or not. It was like, they'd have a shot. Likely one of those things that go 7 games. But they're about to embark on like a Penguins-like run when they had Sidney Crosby in his prime. So the future is bright for the Flyers. Union go to the MLS Cup Finals in 2028, possibly winning it. Again, the AI was very unclear on this. but they're always in the CONCACAF champions conversation. And then because of the way they have their development and run their team, they become sort of a training ground for the U.S. men's national team, kind of helping explode and give the MLS some relevancy. What about our college teams? Villanova, fresh with all that new NIL money, a new coach, they actually go back to being Villanova. They win another national championship in 2031, becoming more of a modern blue blood, and then get themselves back to where they were with Jay Wright. What about my Temple Owls? It's the football team, not the basketball team, that makes all the noise in the next 25 years. The use of the NIL collectives, the fact that there's the NIL revenue sharing, and just the new coach, and the fact that Casey Killer is an older coach who's been around and wants to kind of set up roots. They kind of do a good job with player development. They become a powerhouse in the new look American. And then once he gets everything set up, turns the program over to one of his young assistants. And then 2036 is the year that AI had circled. Expanded college football playoffs. They expand to 12 teams, all the different realignment. Temple was able to take advantage of it. They knock off a top 10 team that season, ride that to a 12-1 season and a New York 6 bowl game victory, biggest win in team history. They don't make a run in the playoffs or anything like that, but they win a New Year's 6 bowl. Basketball team, unfortunately for all of us who love Temple basketball, becomes sort of the little brother of the Temple athletics program. And then St. Joe's goes on an Elite 8 run in 2040, bringing a lot of publicity and love to the Big Five, helping recruiting for all the teams, and helping alumni starting to donate money to the Big Five. So there you have it. That's what AI thinks the next 25 years is going to look like. What are your thoughts on that? Is AI too high on our teams? Ordinarily, I would say yes, but I like it, and I could certainly see this happening. So let me know your thoughts on that. Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Any of my social media, Jimbo_Mott on Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram, @PhillyJimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mott. Continue to spread the word, but let me know your thoughts on AI's predictions for the next 25 years. All right, and finally today, August 15th, is a very historical day in Philly sports. First, we go back to 1990. Phillies beat the Giants 6-0. Darren Dalton homered and had 2 RBI. John Kruk also knocked in 2 runs, but that was way more than enough as Terry Mulholland no-hit his former team, striking out 8 Giants on this day. The only base runner and thing that kept him from a perfect game was a Charlie Hayes error, who ironically enough caught a hot shot at third base to seal the deal for Terry Mulholland. Totally made up for it. It was the first no-hitter at the Vet, 7th in Phillies history, and it was the second straight time that Terry Mulholland came out and dominated his former team after being traded in 1989. Fast forward to 2014, the news was not so good yesterday for our Glenmore Eagles. However, on this day in 2014, the Taney Dragons were representing the Mid-Atlantic in the Little League World Series. They beat Tennessee on this day 4-0. On the mound was Monet Davis, who pitched a 2-hit shutout, striking 8 Ks, becoming the first girl not only to pitch and win a game, but also pitch a shutout in the Little League World Series. If you remember, like, this whole region had Monet Davis fever, and it was so much fun watching these games. But unfortunately, their luck would run out as they lost to Nevada and Illinois. But as I said, Monet Mania was running wild in the Delaware Valley, and it was such a cool moment. It's always good to see not only these kids doing one, but something so historic for Monet Davis to not only be a girl, but a girl, an African-American girl, and not only to play, but to actually dominate in the national stage, the world stage for that matter. So very cool moment on this day in 2014. And then in 2019, Phillies beat the Cubs 7-5 thanks to a 6-run 9th inning. To me, this is when we knew Bryce Harper was a Philly. I call this kind of his welcome to Philly moment. He had a walk-off grand slam. You probably remember seeing the videos of this or even watching this game, but crushed it up to the second deck. It was a Thursday night. They were wearing the powder blue jerseys, and he sprinted around the bases as fast as he could. It was the first time, like I said, I felt that he was our guy. And I think a lot of that stems from just hating the Nationals and everything about Bryce Harper for the longest time. But to me, this was when, okay, he's one of us now. And that is what happened on this day in Philly sports history, August 15th. Be sure to go check out Lotwin. Fantasy football season is right around the corner. These 3D custom hype chains make great loser and winner gifts for your league. Youth sports, soccer is kicking off here soon, so you can always use it as a motivator for your team, like a goal chain, whatever you want to do. Use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, review. All that stuff helps us out with the algorithm. It takes just a few seconds, so anything you can do will be greatly appreciated on that. On this day in 2019, Bryce Harper with the walk-off grand slam against the Cubs, sprints around the bases. 2014, Monet Davis makes history, becoming the first girl to pitch a shutout and win a game in the Little League World Series. And Terry Mulholland pitches a no-hitter in 1990. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on AI. I would take that for my Temple Owls. As much as I want the basketball team to be good, having a New Year's Six bowl game would be, my head might explode. But let me know your thoughts. Is AI too crazy or too high on Philly sports for the next 25 years? If you would have said in 2000, 2 Super Bowls and a World Series, we probably would have said the same thing. So maybe AI is not that crazy. Just say, if we go back to 1999 and say, what are the next 25 years going to look like? How many? Raise your hand if you just said 2 Super Bowls and a World Series. I wouldn't have. But let me know your thoughts on that as well. Maybe you would have. Maybe I'm too down on Philly sports. But on Monday, we will rewind the weekend. We'll recap the rest of the Phillies National Series, update you on the Glenmore Eagles, as well as anything that comes out of Eagles training camp. They have a preseason game on Saturday, so lots to get to, but it's the weekend. It's a feel-good Friday. Phillies will bounce back tonight. I feel it. I absolutely feel it. But this has been This Day in Philly Sports History for August 15th, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a feel-good Friday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.